Awareness is transparency. There are those who use cunning and strategy to bend reality to their will, and they often begin by asking questions that are designed not to gather information, but to guide your thoughts, provoke emotions, or create doubt. When you are aware of this, you shift from being a passive participant in life to an active observer, someone who can detect the subtle patterns of manipulation before they take root. Awareness gives you the ability to see beyond the surface, to understand that not every question is innocent, that words can carry hidden motives, and that silence is sometimes the most powerful response. The more you cultivate awareness, the more you begin to recognize the triggers that manipulators exploit. They often prey on fear, guilt, insecurity, or ambition, using carefully crafted questions to exploit these vulnerabilities. A question may seem simple, like, "Are you sure this is the best decision?" But beneath it lies an attempt to sow doubt, to make you question your own judgment, to destabilize your confidence. If you are not aware, you may answer immediately, fall into their trap, and unconsciously begin to justify, explain, or defend yourself. But when you develop awareness, you learn to pause, to observe the energy behind the question, to ask yourself why this question was asked, who benefits from your response, and whether it aligns with your values and objectives. Awareness is not merely about identifying manipulation. It is also about understanding the dynamics of human interaction. It allows you to notice patterns, to see when someone consistently asks leading questions, or when their inquiries are designed to provoke a specific emotional response. This knowledge is empowering because it shifts control back to you. You begin to understand that manipulation only works when you allow it. When you respond unconsciously, when you react from habit rather than choice. Every moment of awareness strengthens your mental clarity and builds your emotional resilience. It trains your mind to differentiate between genuine curiosity and strategic questioning, between innocent inquiries and attempts to control your perception. Awareness also creates a space between stimulus and response, a space where your power lies. In that space, you can choose how to respond rather than reacting automatically. You can assess whether answering the question serves your purpose, or if silence, redirection, or simply refusing to engage is the wiser course. It is in this conscious space that true power manifests, where you are no longer a victim of circumstance, but a deliberate architect of your reality. Cultivating awareness requires intentionality. It means paying attention to conversations, observing patterns of speech, and being honest with yourself about your emotional reaction. Manipulators often depend on automatic responses, on the human tendency to justify, explain, or rationalize. When you are aware, you break this cycle. You learn to recognize the subtle signs of deceit, the inconsistencies in tone, questions that carry hidden agendas, and the attempts to elicit guilt or fear. Awareness also extends to self-reflection. By understanding your own triggers, insecurities, and blind spots, you reduce the ability of others to exploit them. You become vigilant not only of external manipulations, but also of internal vulnerabilities, creating a shield that is both proactive and protective. Awareness is, in essence, the light that illuminates the hidden corners of interactions, revealing the motives, intentions, and strategies that might otherwise remain invisible. It allows you to navigate life with eyes wide open, to engage with clarity and purpose, and to respond with confidence and integrity. It is the cornerstone of personal empowerment, the tool that transforms uncertainty into strength and confusion into clarity. By embracing awareness, you step into a higher level of consciousness where manipulation loses its power and where your decisions are guided by wisdom, not by someone else's agenda, and where your life becomes a reflection of your intentional choice, free from the hidden influence of those who would seek to control you. Every interaction carries energy, and every question has a purpose beyond the words that are spoken. Discernment is the ability to see past the surface, to recognize the hidden intentions behind the questions people ask, and to understand that not every inquiry is rooted in curiosity or concern. Many people live their lives reacting to questions without considering the motive behind them, answering immediately and giving their power away before they even realize it. To discern intent is to develop a level of awareness that penetrates the veil of appearances and exposes the underlying agenda. Liars and manipulators are skilled at crafting questions that appear harmless, that seem natural or innocent, but beneath the surface, these questions are strategic, designed to influence, confuse, or control. They often rely on leading questions that subtly push you toward a specific response. Questions that provoke emotion, create doubt, or tempt you to justify your action. A question such as, "Are you sure that's the right choice?" may sound like simple concern, but if you pause and reflect, you can see that it carries an agenda to make you doubt yourself, to create uncertainty, and to redirect your focus away from your own judgment. Discernment requires that you step back and examine the context, the tone, the timing, and the consistency of the person asking the question. It is about asking yourself who benefits from your answer, what the real purpose behind the question is, and whether it aligns with truth or manipulation. When you begin to discern intent, you are no longer at the mercy of others' words. You gain the ability to respond strategically rather than reactively. It is a skill that transforms ordinary conversations into opportunities for insight and empowerment, allowing you to navigate life with precision and confidence. The ability to discern also strengthens your emotional intelligence. Manipulated questions often aim to trigger reactions: anger, fear, guilt, or pride, and if you are unaware, may respond from a place of emotion rather than logic, giving away your clarity and compromising your values. By examining the intent behind questions, you learn to regulate your emotions, to recognize the subtle cues of manipulation, and to respond with deliberate thought rather than impulsive action. Discernment is not simply about suspicion, it is about observation and understanding. It requires patience, attention, and the willingness to look beyond the obvious. It is about noticing patterns in speech, detecting inconsistencies, and be mindful of how repeated questioning may serve a manipulative purpose. Those who lack discernment are vulnerable because they answer questions without evaluating their purpose, justify themselves unnecessarily, and they allow others to shape their reality through subtle influence. By contrast, those who cultivate discernment create a buffer between input and response, a space in which they can assess, analyze, and choose how to engage. This skill is particularly important in professional environments, personal relationships, and any situation where influence and persuasion are present. It allows you to recognize when someone is testing boundaries, seeking information for leverage, or attempting to exploit your vulnerabilities. Discernment sharpens your ability to navigate these situations without losing your integrity, without compromising your principles, and without allowing someone else's hidden agenda to dictate your decisions. Furthermore, discernment is about understanding that intent is often hidden behind politeness, charm, or flattery. Liars often cloak their motives in words that seem supportive or friendly, but when examined closely, these words are carefully chosen to manipulate perception and influence behavior. Developing the capacity to discern allows you to see past the facade, to recognize the strategy, and to respond with clarity and confidence rather than being swayed by appearances. It is a form of mental and emotional self-defense, a way of reclaiming control over your interactions and ensuring that your responses align with your values, not with someone else's attempt to manipulate. Discernment empowers you to act with wisdom, to respond intentionally, and to avoid falling into traps that are designed to mislead or control you. It strengthens your confidence because when you understand the intent behind a question, you no longer feel pressured to answer immediately or to justify yourself unnecessarily. You are able to maintain your authority, assert your boundaries, and protect your emotional and mental well-being. The more you practice discernment, the more natural it becomes to evaluate every question, every statement, and every interaction with a keen eye for motive and purpose, and this skill becomes a cornerstone of personal empowerment and conscious living. Self-authority is the recognition that your life, your choices, and your decisions are ultimate, yours and yours alone, and that no one has the power to dictate your reality unless you allow it. Many people live their lives seeking approval, validation, or guidance from others, believing that the opinions of friends, family, colleagues, or even strangers carry more weight than their own judgment. This is where manipulators find fertile ground because they prey on the insecurity that arises when someone doubts their own authority over their life. When you understand and embrace self-authority, you realize that you are the ultimate decision maker, the captain of your own ship, and the architect of your own destiny. No external force has the ability to control your actions unless you surrender your power to it. Developing self-authority begins with a deep awareness of your own values, principles, and goals. It requires reflection and clarity about what matters most to you, what boundaries are non-negotiable, and what you will not compromise under any circumstance. When your sense of self is grounded in your own understanding and convictions, you are less likely to be swayed by manipulative questions designed to create doubt or confusion. People who possess strong self-authority do not feel the need to justify themselves unnecessarily because they are confident in the reasoning behind their choices. They understand that a manipulator may attempt to provoke guilt, shame, or fear to gain control, but with self-authority, these attempts lose their power. You develop the ability to recognize when a question is an attempt to manipulate rather than a genuine inquiry, and you respond in a way that protects your integrity and your objectives. Exercising self-authority also means trusting your intuition and judgment. You understand that while advice and guidance can be useful, the final decision rests with you. Manipulators often challenge this trust in your own judgment by asking questions that make you doubt yourself, that suggest your decisions are flawed or insufficient. When you have cultivated self-authority, these attempts fail because you are anchored in your own reasoning, confident in your ability to navigate life's challenges, and unwilling to surrender control of your mind and choices to someone else. Self-authority is not arrogance or isolation. It is empowerment. It allows you to interact with others respectfully and thoughtfully, to listen and consider, but to ultimately act from your own conviction rather than external pressure. It transforms the way you respond to manipulative questioning. Rather than reacting defensively or emotionally, you respond strategically, thoughtfully, and with clarity, because you are grounded in your own authority. Developing self-authority also involves setting boundaries. You recognize that your time, energy, and mental space are valuable, and you protect them from those who would exploit them through subtle or overt manipulation. This is a critical aspect because manipulators often test boundaries through seemingly innocent or indirect questions. When you exercise self-authority, you have the courage and the clarity to assert your boundaries, to refuse, to be drawn into unnecessary debates, and to maintain your integrity regardless of external pressure. Self-authority empowers you to make decisions in alignment with your vision and purpose, rather than being swayed by someone else's agenda or hidden motives. It strengthens your resilience against emotional manipulation because you understand that you are not obligated to answer every question or to justify every decision. Your authority lies in your ability to choose consciously, to act intentionally, and to respond in alignment with your values. The more you practice self-authority, the more natural it becomes to stand firm in the face of manipulation, to recognize attempts at control, and to navigate conversations with clarity and confidence. It becomes a shield against deception, a tool for personal empowerment, and a principle that guides every interaction. When you embrace self-authority fully, you understand that your life is yours to direct, your mind is yours to control, and your responses are yours to govern, creating a space where manipulation loses its power and where your clarity, purpose, and integrity remain unshakable, even in the face of those who seek to challenge or influence you for their own gain. Pausing before you react is one of the most powerful tools you can develop in a world filled with manipulation, deception, and influence, because it creates a space of clarity, control, and conscious choice. Many people operate on autopilot, responding immediately to questions, comments, or provocations without considering the consequences or the intent behind them. This reflexive behavior often gives manipulators exactly what they want, as they rely on the automatic responses of others to guide, influence, and control. The moment you learn to pause, even for a few seconds, you interrupt this automatic pattern and reclaim your power. A pause is not a sign of weakness or hesitation. It is a deliberate act of self-mastery and awareness. It allows you to observe your own emotions, assess the intentions behind the word being spoken, and determine the most strategic response rather than a reactive one. When someone asks a question designed to manipulate, they are often attempting to provoke an immediate response, one that will reveal your vulnerabilities, insecurities, or lack of clarity. If you respond instantly without pause, you may fall into their trap, answering in ways that serve their agenda rather than your own. By pausing, you create a buffer, a moment of conscious thought, where you can evaluate the situation, recognize the underlying motives, and choose a response that maintains your integrity and authority. The pause also allows for emotional regulation. Manipulative questions are often crafted to trigger specific emotions, guilt, anger, fear, or defensiveness, because emotions cloud judgment and make people more pliable. When you pause, you give yourself time to observe your feelings without being controlled by them. You can acknowledge the emotion, understand its source, and respond in a calm, deliberate, and measured way, which diminishes the manipulator's power. Furthermore, pausing before you react demonstrates confidence and self-control. It signals that you are not easily swayed, that you are thoughtful, that you operate from a place of discernment rather than impulse. People who rush to answer every question may appear uncertain, reactive, or vulnerable. But those who pause command respect because their responses are intentional, composed, and aligned with their principles. Pausing also opens the door to deeper insight. In the brief moment before you respond, you have the opportunity to analyze the structure of the question, the language being used, and the potential objectives behind it. You can ask yourself critical questions. Who benefits from my answer? What is the true purpose of this question? Is this inquiry aligned with truth or manipulation? By engaging in this internal dialogue, you strengthen your ability to navigate complex interactions with wisdom and clarity. Moreover, pausing encourages strategic communication. It allows you to craft responses that assert boundaries, clarify intentions, or redirect the conversation without escalating conflict or giving away power. You can respond in a way that serves your objectives, protects your emotional well-being, and preserves your relationships, rather than reacting impulsively to someone else's manipulation. Developing the habit of pausing requires discipline and practice. It means training your mind to resist the urge to react immediately, to tolerate brief moments of silence, and to use those moments to assess, reflect, and choose consciously. The more you practice this skill, the more natural it becomes to respond intentionally in all areas of life, whether in personal relationships, professional environments, or casual interactions. Pausing is also a form of empowerment because it reinforces the principle that your responses are your own. No one can force you to react in a particular way. The control lies within you. By choosing to pause, you reclaim authority over your mind, your emotions, and your actions. It transforms moments of potential vulnerability into opportunities for conscious decision-making and strategic influence. The pause is not passive. It is active, deliberate, and purposeful. It allows you to engage with the world from a position of strength, rather than being controlled by the impulses, pressures, or manipulations of others. Every pause strengthens your capacity for discernment, emotional resilience, and self-mastery, ensuring that your life and your decisions are guided by awareness, principle, and intentionality rather than by the hidden agendas of those around you. Questions are among the most powerful tools in human interaction, capable of shaping perception, influencing behavior, and even altering the course of decisions. And understanding the power of question is essential in protecting yourself from manipulation and deceit. Every question carries energy, whether it is overt or subtle. And every question can either enlighten or confuse, empower or undermine, depending on the intention behind it and the awareness of the person being asked. Manipulators understand this principle deeply, and they often use carefully constructed questions as instruments to steer conversations, provoke emotions, and elicit responses that serve their agenda. A question is never just a question. It is a window into the mind of the one asking it, a reflection of their objectives, and a test of your awareness, patience, and self-control. Recognizing the power of questions is about understanding that words themselves can shape thought patterns, trigger emotional responses, and guide decision-making, often without the respondent even realizing the subtle influence at play. When someone asks, "Do you really think that's the right choice?" they are not merely seeking information, they are planting seeds of doubt, nudging you to reconsider your judgment and subtly undermining your confidence. If you fail to recognize this, the question may influence your thought process unconsciously, leading you to justify, explain, or even doubt your own reasoning. By understanding the power of questions, you begin to see the landscape of influence that surrounds every interaction, allowing you to respond consciously rather than react automatically. This awareness gives you control, because when you know the potential impact of a question, you can choose your response, deliberately decide whether to answer at all, or even redirect the conversation in a way that maintains your authority. The power of questions also lies in their ability to reveal motives. A manipulative question often carries a hidden agenda, whether it is to elicit guilt, provoke fear, or create confusion. By observing the structure, timing, and tone of the question, you can detect patterns and gain insight into the intentions behind it. Discernment becomes essential, because not all questions are asked with good intentions, and the ability to recognize manipulative tactics allows you to safeguard your mental and emotional energy. Understanding this power also transforms your own communication. When you realize that questions can shape perception, you become more intentional about the questions you ask others, ensuring that your inquiries are aligned with truth, clarity, and integrity rather than manipulation or hidden motives. This skill enhances your relationships, strengthens your influence, and cultivates an environment of transparency and honesty. Furthermore, recognizing the power of questions empowers you to establish boundaries. Some questions are designed to provoke, test, or manipulate. And understanding this allows you to decide which questions deserve a response, which require clarification, and which are best left unanswered. By mastering this, you protect your personal and professional space, ensuring that your energy is not drained by unnecessary or harmful interactions. Questions also have the power to shape your own thinking. When you are aware of manipulative questioning, you become more reflective, more intentional, and more strategic in your thought processes. You learn to pause, evaluate, and consider the implications before responding, which strengthens your decision-making, emotional resilience, and self-confidence. This understanding fosters a mindset of empowerment rather than victimhood, because you recognize that influence is only effective when it is accepted unconsciously. By observing, analyzing, and responding thoughtfully to questions, you maintain control over your mind, your choices, and your reactions. The power of questions extends beyond individual interactions to every aspect of life. In professional settings, manipulative questions may test your authority, competence, or confidence. In personal relationships, they may attempt to elicit guilt, create dependency, or challenge your boundaries. By recognizing the influence questions hold, you're equipped to navigate these situations with discernment, assertiveness, and clarity. Ultimately, understanding the power of questions is about reclaiming your authority, protect your integrity, and mastering your interactions with awareness and intention. It allows you to see the hidden currents of influence, to respond rather than react, and to use the energy of every question to strengthen your position, assert your boundaries, and maintain control over your own life and decisions. Empowerment through truth is the ultimate shield against manipulation, deception, and the subtle strategies that liars employ to influence your mind and actions. Because when you live in alignment with truth, you stand firmly in your own power, unshakable by external agendas. Many people underestimate the force of truth in everyday interactions, believing that honesty is simply about what is spoken or written, when in reality, truth is a state of being, a principle that governs the alignment between your thoughts, words, and actions. Liars exploit inconsistencies, gaps, and ambiguities in understanding, seeking to confuse, control, or mislead those who lack clarity and alignment with their own truth. When you cultivate empowerment through truth, you develop an internal compass that guides your decisions, protects your integrity, and provides clarity amidst the noise of external influence. Truth acts as a lens, allowing you to discern reality from deception, to separate genuine concern from manipulative intent, and to respond to questions, challenges, or provocations with confidence rather than uncertainty. When manipulators ask questions designed to provoke guilt, fear, or doubt, the person grounded in truth recognizes the strategy immediately, understanding that their response is not required to validate someone else's agenda, but rather to honor their own principles. Living in truth also strengthens your boundaries, because you become clear about what is acceptable and what is not, what aligns with your values and what does not, and where your energy is best invested. This clarity makes it difficult for anyone to manipulate you, because manipulation relies on ambiguity, hesitation, and uncertainty. The more aligned you are with truth, the less room there is for manipulation to take hold, because truth reveals motives, exposes inconsistencies, and highlights the intentions behind questions that seek to sway your judgment. Empowerment through truth is also about self-awareness. It requires honest reflection, a deep understanding of your own beliefs, values, and desires, and the courage to act in accordance with them. Manipulators often exploit internal confusion, self-doubt, or lack of clarity. And when you eliminate these vulnerabilities through alignment with truth, you render their strategies ineffective. Your power grows because you are no longer operating in reaction to others' influence, but from a position of conscious choice, where every decision is deliberate, intentional, and rooted in principle. Furthermore, truth empowers you to communicate with authenticity. When you respond from a place of truth, your words carry weight, integrity, and clarity, and others recognize that you are guided by principle rather than manipulation. Your ability to engage with honesty creates trust, fosters respect, and strengthens relationships while simultaneously disarming those who attempt to manipulate you through misleading questions or deceptive tactics. Living in truth also cultivates resilience. Life will present challenges, conflicts, and encounters with those who seek to mislead, test, or influence you for their own gain, but a foundation of truth allows you to navigate these situations without losing composure, without compromising your values, and without succumbing to emotional manipulation. It acts as an anchor in turbulent situations, providing clarity, stability, and a sense of unwavering purpose. Empowerment through truth is not passive. It is active, deliberate, and powerful. It requires constant vigilance, self-reflection, and commitment to integrity, because manipulators will often attempt subtle tactics to test your alignment, probe for weaknesses, or challenge your principles. By maintaining your commitment to truth, you ensure that your actions, decisions, and responses remain untainted by external agendas, preserving your authority over your life. Truth also enhances discernment, because when you are grounded in reality, it becomes easier to detect inconsistencies, recognize hidden motives, and respond strategically to manipulative questions. You no longer need to guess, doubt, or second-guess yourself, because your clarity of principle acts as a guiding light, illuminating the path of conscious, empowered choice. Ultimately, empowerment through truth is about sovereignty over your mind, your decisions, and your life. It is about living in alignment with your highest values, refusing to be swayed by deception, and responding to the world with clarity, confidence, and intentionality. When truth becomes your foundation, manipulation loses its power, deception becomes transparent, and every interaction becomes an opportunity to exercise your authority, maintain integrity, and navigate life with courage, wisdom, and empowerment.